Hi everybody, this is Algebra 2, Lesson 77. This lesson covers advanced radical equations and multiple radicals. Okay, so we've already worked radicals that look like this. So for this one, I'm going to square both sides. So I'm going to say the square root of x minus 1 equals 4, right? So I have to square that and square that. So then I would have x minus 1 equals 16. Then I'll say plus 1, and I will get x equals 17. And to check that, I'm going to say the square root of 17 minus 1 equals 4. 17 minus 1 would be 16. Square root of 16 equals 4. And yes, square root of 16 does equal 4. So that was a quick review of ones we've been working already. Okay, now we're going to get to ones that are a little bit more advanced. So the first thing I have to do on this one is I have to isolate everything that's in this radical. So I've got the third root of x to the third plus 16x squared minus 4. All that's underneath my radical. Then I have minus x minus 2 equals 0. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this x. So plus x and move this 2. Okay, so we want to get those on the other side of the equal sign. So now I have the third root of x to the third plus 16x squared minus 4 equals x plus 2. Okay, so now I need to do this to the third and this to the third. Okay, I got to cube it to get rid of that cube root. All right, so then I'm going to have x to the third plus 16x squared minus 4 equals. Okay, so that means that I have to cube x plus 2. So that's going to be x plus 2 times x plus 2 times another x plus 2. So if I rainbow this out, I'm going to get x squared plus 4x plus 4. And then I have to do it one more time. So I did 2 of those, and now one more time. So x times x squared would be x to the third. That would be 4x squared. That would be 4x. Now I've got 2 times x squared, which would be 2x squared. 2 times 4x would be 8x. 2 times 4 would be 8. Now I've got to add these up. X to the third plus 4, 5, 6 x squared plus 12x plus 8. Okay, so x to the third plus 6x squared plus 12x plus 8. Okay, so now you'll notice that if I subtract x to the third on both sides, that's going to cancel on both sides, and that's good. I want that to do that. Okay, now I've got minus 6x squared, so I can do that over here. And I'm going to get 10x squared. And then x squared. Okay, I got something wrong right here. Let's see, that should have been 2 times 4 is this should have been oh, that's what's wrong. That's a 6x, not a 16x. There we go. Okay. Now those cancel each other. Okay. So now I have negative 4 equals 12x plus 8. All right, now minus 8. I have negative 12 equals 12x. X equals negative 1. Alright, so for that one, x equals -1. Now, we're always supposed to check that and make sure, because sometimes it doesn't work, and that means there is no solution to the problem. So, if x equals -1, we're going to say the third root of -1 to the third plus 6 times -1 squared minus 4 minus x minus 2 equals 0. Alright, -1 to the third would be -1. -1 squared would be +1. So that would be 1 times 6 is 6, minus 4. So that would be minus 4 would be 2. 2 minus 1 is 1. So that's the third root of 1 minus -1 minus 2 equals 0. That would mean plus, the third root of -1, that would be 1, plus 1 minus 2 equals 0. 1 plus 1 is 2, minus 2 equals 0. Yes, so that comes out right. It does work. So the answer is -1. Alright, let's try another one. Okay, this one's a little bit different. This one we're going to have to square it twice. So we're going to start by moving that to the other side. So we've got the square root of k minus 5 minus the square root of k plus 1 equals 0. So on this one, what we're going to do first is we're going to move this k to the other side. So plus square root of k. And we're also going to move this -1. So now we've got the square root of k minus 5 equals the square root of k minus 1. Okay, so now when we square this, we're also going to have to square that. Okay, so that'll be in parentheses. So we're going to have k minus 5 equals the square root of k minus 1 squared. Okay, so that means the square root of k minus 1 times the square root of k minus 1. Okay, so we're going to have to rainbow this. Square root of k times square root of k is going to be just k. That would be minus square root of k. And that would be minus square root of k. Oops. And then that would be -1 times -1 is +1. So we're going to have k minus 2 times the square root of k plus 1. Okay, when we rainbowed all that out. Alright, so that means k minus 5 equals k minus 2 times the square root of k plus 5. Now we have to isolate this guy by itself so that we can square it. So we're going to get rid of this k and get rid of this 5. Okay, so those cancel each other. And we're going to end up with let's see, -10 equals -2 times the square root of k. Oh, no, that's not plus 5, that's plus 1. Whoopsie. That makes more sense now. -2 times square root of k plus 1. There we go. So now we do -1, and we get -6. Alright. Now, k still isn't by itself. We have to divide by -2. And we get 6 divided by 2 is going to be 3 equals the square root of k. Now we square both of them. And we get k equals 3 squared, which is 9. So the answer to that one's 9. And if we plug that back in, of k, which is 9 minus 5, minus the square root of 9 plus 1 equals 0. 9 minus 5 is 4. Square root of 4 is 2. Square root of 9 is 3. 2 minus 3 will be negative 1 plus 1 equals 0. Yep, that checks off. So k equals 9. Alright, I know these seem a little bit tedious, but they're not really that hard. Let's try one more. Alright, so it's s minus 8 plus square root of s equals 2. So first we're going to move this. Okay. And we're going to get square root of s minus 8 equals 2 minus the square root of s. And then we have to square both of these. So we're going to get s minus 8 equals, and then we got to do 2 minus square root of s times 2 minus square root of s. 2 times 2 is 4. That would be negative 2 times square root of s. And another negative 2 times square root of s. And then s times s would be plus s. Okay, so we'll remove that down here. 4 minus 4 times the square root of s plus 4. Alright, so now we can say, not plus 4, plus s. There we go. Okay, now we can say minus s. Those cancel. Okay, and then minus 4. Okay, and 4 is negative 12 equals negative 4 times the square root of s. Now we divide by negative 4 to isolate the square root of s there. We're going to get square root of s equals, those negatives cancel each other out. 3 times 4 is 12, 3. So we're going to say 3 equals the square root of s. Then we square that and that, and we get 9 equals s. Alright, so let's see if that works. So we got 9 equals s, so we're going to see if that works. So we're going to say square root of s, which will be 9, minus 8 plus square root of 9 equals 2. Okay, 9 minus 8 is 1. Square root of 1 plus 9, whoops, that would be 3. Square root of, get rid of that. Square root of 9 equals 2. Square root of 1 will be 1. Square root of 2 will be, 9 will be 3. That will be 4 equals 2. So that does not work. So there is no solution. So be careful with these. Sometimes you work the whole thing just to find out that it doesn't work. Always put it back in and work it. Alright, go ahead and pause the video and do the practice problem. There are just 2 of them. Okay, here's the first one. So on this one, we are going to need to move this to the other side first. Okay, so we're going to get the third root of x to the third plus 3x squared minus 8 equals x plus 1. Now we need to cube that and that. So we're going to have x plus 1 cubed. Now if we squared that, we would have x squared plus 2x plus 1. And now I need to do that again. It's x plus 1. So you can usually do the first one in your head, and then the second one you gotta multiply out, rainbow it. So x to the third, that will be 2x squared, and that will be one more x, and then our 1 times x squared will be another x squared, and then 1 times 2x, and then 1 times 1 is 1. X to the third plus 3x squared plus 3x plus 1. Alright, so that means we're going to have x to the third, I'm just copying down what's in here, okay, plus 3x squared, and I've gotten rid of this cube root because I cubed it, minus 8 equals, now I'm going to copy down what's right here, x to the third plus 3x squared plus 3x plus 1. Okay, so all this I got from cubing that. Okay, cube this to get rid of that radical sign. Cube that, because whatever you do to one side, you have to do the other. Okay, so let's see if we can get rid of some of this stuff. X to the third. They set these up so that these are going to cancel out. 3x squared. Cancel those out. Okay, so now I've got negative 8 equals 3x plus 1. Okay, so now we're going to do minus 1. Now I'm going to have negative 9 equals 3x. Now I'm going to divide by 3. And I get x equals negative 3. And that is the answer to that one. Now we have to plug it back in to make sure. Get us some room here. Plug that back in to make sure it works. So we're going to say the third root of negative 3 to the third plus 3 times negative 3 squared minus 8 minus negative 3 minus 1 equals 0. Okay, and our third root is all the way up to this minus 8. Alright, so that means the third root of negative 3 times negative 3 times negative 3 will be 27, negative 27. And then 3 times 3 would be 9, and that would be positive 9. 9 times 3 is 27. Minus 8. Minus, negative, negative right there would be plus 3. Minus 1 equals 0. Okay, so then 27, positive and negative cancel each other out. Third root of negative 8 plus 3 minus 1 equals 0. Third root of negative 8 would be 2 times 2 times 2, and then those will all be negatives. 2 times 2 is 4. 4 times 2 is 8. Negative 2 plus 3 minus 1 equals 0. And that's true. Negative 2 plus 3 will be positive 1 minus 1 is 0. So that works. So x equals negative 3 should be the answer you got for that one. Okay, and one more practice problem for this one. We've got s minus 16. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is move this over to the other side. And I'm going to get the square root of s minus 16 equals 4 minus the square root of s. I'm going to square that, and I'm going to square that. Okay, so I'm going to have s minus 16 equals, and to square this, I'm going to have 4 minus square root of s times 4 minus the square root of s. Okay, 4 times 4 is 16. 4 times that'll be negative 4 times the square root of s. And then that one will be negative 4 times the square root of s. And then that would be positive s. Okay, and I'll get 16 minus 8 times the square root of s plus s. Okay, write that over here. Okay, now I can get rid of this s right here. And those are going to cancel each other out on both sides. And I can get rid of this 16. And those are going to cancel each other out on both sides. And I'm going to get 0 equals, right, negative 8 times the square root of s. Nope, got something wrong here. Let's see, what did I do? I got s minus 16. Oh, okay, and that's positive 16. So when I said I did minus s minus 16, all right, so that gave us negative 32 equals, those canceled, negative 8 times the square root of s. There we go. Because it wasn't a negative and a positive, it was two negatives. All right, divided by negative 8. Negatives cancel. 8 times 4 is 32. So 4 equals the square root of s. So then I have to square that and square that. And I get 16 equals s. So s is equal to 16. Now I can double check that and make sure. I just got to put 16 in there. So I'm going to say the square root of 16 minus 16. Made my box too long. Okay, so 16 is s minus 16 plus the square root of 16 equals 4. 16 minus 16 would be 0, so that whole thing cancels out. Square root of 16 is 4 equals 4. Yes, that checks out. So s equals 16. And that's the answer to that one. All right, that is it for lesson 77.